Are you aware of whom you ought not to extend kindness towards, even if you were raised to be courteous to all? At a certain stage in life, your time, energy, and peace become far too precious to distribute indiscriminately to anyone who might covet them. With age comes the understanding that kindness is not invariably a blessing. On occasion, it can be a snare. There exist individuals who flourish on your generosity, patience, and even your silence. The longer you permit them access, the more they will take. Today, let us consider 5 types of people to whom you should cease being unfailingly kind in later life. These are not mere strangers or distant acquaintances. More often, they are those closest to you, relatives, neighbors, long-standing friends. Without vigilance, their habits can deplete your reserves in ways you may not anticipate. By the conclusion of this discussion, you will be equipped to identify such individuals, comprehend the reasons their presence is so enervating, and learn how to protect your emotional well-being without remorse or justification. Your later years should no longer be devoted to reforming others, but rather to safeguarding your remaining peace. Let us begin. 1. The Relentless Taker. One unmistakable sign that one's kindness is being misused arises when an individual only appears in your life to request something. Consider the familiar scenario. Whenever this person contacts you, it is never simply to connect or share pleasant conversation, but always to ask for a favor, seek a lift, or otherwise occupy your time. Take for example, Gloria, age 71, who has long served as the dependably helpful relative in her family. If a babysitter is needed at the last moment, or someone to look after pets during holidays, Gloria is invariably approached, and she seldom refuses. However, she came to a startling realization when, on her own birthday, she received neither calls nor messages. Not even during her illnesses did anyone offer support. It became evident that these relationships were not reciprocal. She was perpetually the one giving, and the giving was never returned. Many bear a peculiar sense of guilt at the thought of withdrawing from such individuals, especially when they are family. The belief prevails that to be needed is an unquestionable good, and that refusal may be selfish or wrong. Perhaps, one imagines, next time their efforts will be acknowledged. Yet, if someone values you solely for what you can provide, they do not truly value you at all. You are seen not as a person, but as a resource. In later life, when one's emotional, physical, and energetic reserves are limited, expending them on those who merely take is unwise. It is entirely permissible to refuse requests without justification, to establish firm boundaries, and to protect what tranquility and strength remain for those who genuinely appreciate it. If someone withdraws because you no longer acquiesce to every demand, that itself is telling. You were simply a convenience to them, never truly cherished. Therefore, do not allow generosity to become a source of bondage. Instead, let each act of kindness be genuinely reciprocated. 2. The Habitual Critic. A unique form of fatigue stems from associating with those who habitually point out your perceived shortcomings, your attire, your decisions, or even your past. Their criticisms may not be loud or vulgar, but their constancy inflicts lasting harm, gradually eroding self-confidence. Consider Raymond, aged 82, who dutifully visits his cousin every Sunday, bringing fresh bread and offering companionship. Yet, his cousin habitually criticizes trivial matters, from his hair to his furniture choices or his supposed sensitivity. Initially, Raymond bore it with a smile, believing it harmless. However, eventually he began to feel diminished, his joy at these visits replaced by self-doubt. The true danger of continual criticism is its insidious effect. It does not simply wound, but gradually erodes one's sense of self-worth. Such individuals often disguise their cruelty as helpful honesty, insisting they merely wish to aid your improvement. In truth, they undermine your peace with every passing remark. If allowed, persist unchecked, you may find yourself apprehensive before every interaction, bracing for the next critique, and eventually sharing and attempting less. At this stage of life, you have earned the right to feel comfortable with who you are. You are not obliged to seek approval or justify your lifestyle or preferences. If an individual consistently leaves you feeling inadequate or inferior, you owe it to yourself to restrict their influence. And kindness does not obligate you to accept mistreatment or abuse, even when veiled in politeness. Sometimes the kindest act towards oneself is to step back and refuse further participation in such a narrative. 3. The guilt-inducer. There is a distinct heaviness brought on by a person who excels at reconfiguring every situation to leave you feeling culpable. These individuals do not argue or raise their voices. Instead, they master the art of subtly applied guilt, causing you to question whether you have done enough or if you have failed them in some way. Consider Margaret, age 79, who attempts to stay involved with her extended family. Her niece only reaches out when she requires assistance, and if Margaret gently declines, she is met with silence or a veiled reproach about family loyalty. Margaret's refusal is not rooted in malice, but in her own exhaustion, and yet the guilt lingers, suggesting that perhaps she really is being selfish. Guilt-inducers are challenging precisely because they weaponize your loyalty, empathy, and sense of duty. They imply that by considering your own needs, you are somehow unkind or neglectful. If you continually find yourself apologizing, over-explaining, or conceding more than is comfortable merely to avoid their coldness, recognize that this is manipulation, not love. Remember, you do not owe your peace or well-being to anyone, and you are entitled to decline requests without offering elaborate explanations. Affection that is conditional upon your constant self-sacrifice is not genuine. It is coercion. Your main responsibility, especially in later years, is to yourself, not to endlessly cater to another's emotional needs. If someone uses guilt to police your boundaries, let that be the cue to assert them ever more firmly. 4. The Covert Competitor. Not all adversaries are overt. Some present themselves as friends, even expressing support, whilst secretly harboring a spirit of rivalry. These are the hidden competitors, individuals who desire not only their own success, but also your diminished standing. Helen, age 6, rejoined an art class after suppressing her creativity for many years. When her friend Judy enrolled, professing encouragement, she persistently offered backhanded compliments, remarks about Helen's artistic choices that, while superficially friendly, undermined her confidence. Such subtle comparisons and friendly one-upmanship forced Helen to doubt her place in the class. These secret competitors are treacherous, not because of open hostility, but through underhanded tactics, always having a better story, a bigger achievement, or a more impressive compliment. Their goal is never to celebrate your accomplishments, but rather to ensure that they always outshine you. With age, competition becomes increasingly irrelevant. After enduring so much and building a life of value, it is foolish to expend energy on fruitless comparisons. If someone cannot celebrate your happiness or achievements, unless they surpass them, distance yourself. Genuine friends illuminate your life, encouraging and inspiring without reservation. 5. The passive-aggressive manipulator. Some individuals never confront directly, preferring the subterfuge of sardonic comments, silent treatment, or ambiguous jests. These passive-aggressive manipulators are particularly hazardous, as their actions are seldom overt, but can be deeply draining over time. Consider Harold, aged 83, who has resided in the same neighborhood for decades. Whenever he requests as minor assistance from his neighbor Doug responds with jokes that subtly belittle Harold's capabilities or evade responsibility, never expressly refusing, but always refusing in effect. Such behavior leaves Harold uncertain. Was he insulted or simply dismissed? These people evade accountability by insisting their words were harmless or misconstrued. They ignore messages, cancel plans without explanation, and if challenged, accuse you of hypersensitivity. Over time, you are left treading carefully, silencing your own needs for the sake of an illusory peace. At this stage, genuine peace is not a luxury but a necessity. You need not respond to every slight, nor are you obliged to instruct others in proper conduct. By simply stepping back and creating distance, you reclaim the quiet that is rightfully yours. A smile devoid of sincerity is mere pretense, and after a lifetime's experience, it is folly to settle for insincere connections. Final reflections. Having now considered these 5 types of individuals, take a moment to reflect. Are any such persons occupying positions of closeness in your life? Are you investing your time, patience, or energy into relationships with those who only take, criticize, twist your intentions, or otherwise diminish your sense of self? As one grows older, peace of mind increases in value. You may have devoted great energy to others, forgiven more than was prudent, or kept silent for the sake of harmony. However, there comes a time to break free from such unrewarding patterns. You have every right to protect your environment and to choose deliberately who you allow into your personal sphere. Kindness does not equate to relentless availability, especially towards those who deplete you. It is preferable to practice compassion with discernment, warmth tempered by prudence, and at times the greatest kindness you can show is towards yourself by declaring enough. Should any part of this reflection resonate, do not let the feeling pass. Contemplate it, write it down, and resolve to cease parceling out the remnants of yourself to those who never offer anything in return. Your later years are not simply for survival. They are for healing, growth, and surrounding yourself with those individuals who authentically recognize and value you. This process begins by letting go of those who never truly did. Thank you for your attention. Your thoughts matter to us, and we welcome your reflections on what you have learned and how you plan to apply it in your own life. Reading your comments brings us encouragement and inspiration. Should you have found this discussion meaningful, we would be grateful if you were to share it further. We look forward to engaging with you again in the future.